this holiday week. Thanks for sticking with us for Weather Channel Live. Meteorologist Felicia Combs, meteorologist Chris Bruin. I noticed something on my way in. I was rolling right along traffic-wise because it seems like maybe everyone
is already there.
Is already there or not going into work this week. Maybe they have the whole week off.
Well, I know a lot of kids, and I know here locally the school is out for the entire week. And, you know, growing up, we only used to have Thursday and Friday off.
I know. You kids don't know how good you got it.
They get a whole week, which is helpful to, you know, spend more time with family, have more free time, and also spread the travel around. So maybe it's not all one congested day like it used to be on Wednesday.
Yeah, you might want that because we've already seen some travel troubles. The bus, the train, the car, or the airplane could be impacted by the weather. And we're seeing that happen in Boston right now. Those delays up around 45 minutes for low clouds. So we got that low cloud ceiling that's impacted some of that travel. Seeing some delays for places like Denver as well. I do expect we'll see some of those delays increasing, though, when we see that snow beginning to pick up later on today and then into early tomorrow. Your wait time's not looking so bad. Currently, we've got JFK, ATL, Chicago O'Hare, all under 10 minutes. That's fantastic. Around 20 minutes in Dallas, Fort Worth, and LA for your security wait times. So, you know, nothing that should make you miss your flight as long as you're there within a reasonable time. Again, taking a look at what we've got going on in Boston, you've got some of that rain moving through. You've got that low cloud cover as well. But other than that, lots of green bubbles on the map and tons of planes in the sky right now. I mean, look at all of the planes. This is a live look at the air traffic with the planes in the air currently. So lots of people hitting the airways. A little bit of turbulence to report in different parts of the country. You can see here across portions of the south, then into the central U.S. and the Rockies, and once again across the west. All reports are light turbulence, so nothing too crazy out there, but enough to make it a little bumpy and maybe unpleasant for those nervous flyers. As mentioned, tomorrow, especially tomorrow morning, some delays expected in Denver. Memphis, you're going to have some rain and some storminess around, so maybe a few delays there for tomorrow. Looking to Thursday, we light up the whole eastern chunk of the country, pretty much from Cleveland to Boston, JFK, DC, ATL, all the way down to New Orleans. We're expecting weather-related travel delays for your Thanksgiving. So if you're taking that last-minute flight to get in there for Thanksgiving dinner, keep an eye on it because we could see some delays for some of those major hubs. Now, maybe you're traveling by car. Tomorrow's expected to be the busiest travel day by car, and the worst time would be 1 to 5 p.m., so maybe get on the road a bit earlier. We also have that possibility for some strong storms across the south tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, so keep that in mind. Rain is going to be moving across portions of Indiana, Illinois, western Kentucky, and Tennessee, and then you'll see that snow falling down there across the Rockies. Quick look at what you can expect tomorrow for the eastern seaboard. The rain clears out, but the temperatures are also very mild. So that is before we see these temperatures really taking a big nosedive.
The buildings, I mean, they disappear. I was there for that big lake effect snow event 2 years ago, and this one is going to be impressive, but maybe not to the scale that was. I mean, we were dealing with 60 to 80 inches by the time all is said and done. And the difference is the wind direction is going to be a little bit more, it's going to be erratic. It's not going to be persistent in one area. It may be for 5 hours and that area gets, you know, a foot of snow, and then it might shift to the south.
The thing about these winter storm watches, and this says something, we're at Tuesday right now, and they've already issued these winter storm watches for Friday through next Monday. You don't typically see them issuing these type of alerts this soon, but I think maybe part of the thinking is here, you want to get people prepared who are going to be traveling for the holiday to know that you're going to be dealing with this lake effect snow event starting Friday, lasting into Monday, so you want to travel and plan accordingly.
Plus, confidence is high to get lake effect snow. You have the warm waters, which is still early in the season. We're not dealing with ice cover at all yet at this point, but we've got the Arctic air, and we know that's about to push in after Thanksgiving, and the combination of the two with the wind direction is going to make for tough travel, especially if you're planning a trip, say, between Cleveland and Buffalo, or heading up even further north towards Syracuse or even Watertown in New York.
Temperatures well below average for places like Chicago. I mean, your average high should be in the lower 40s. That's near where we are today, but watch how the temperature just bottoms out. This is your forecast high. So your high on Friday only in the 20s, Saturday, Sunday only in the 20s, and it's going to feel even colder than that once you factor in the wind. I mean, look at these feels like temperatures. This is for Friday. Those Black Friday shoppers, if they were getting out there, it is going to be so cold.
It feels like 10 to 15 degrees when you factor in that wind chill. So it's going to be a huge shock to the system, especially coming off of Thanksgiving and what's been relatively mild fall for most of October and early November. But we talked about those warm temperatures.
Right. When you don't have that ice cover, when you have temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below average, just Arctic air blowing over this warm water, that's the perfect setup for some lake effect snow.
Welcome back into Weather Channel Live. We've been talking a lot about the cold temperatures, so now we want to show you what that means, whether you're in the Midwest, the Northeast, or down into the Southeast, where today it's actually not too bad. We had a cold front come through, so it's comfortable. What you would expect for Thanksgiving.
I'm not unhappy about 60s in Memphis, Atlanta, 70s in New Orleans. If you're a warm air lover like me, if you're a tropical fish, as I like to say, you might not love what's coming. We're about to watch this cold air dive south.
Oh, yeah, and cold air is heavy. It's dense, and it has a kind of a forceful nature to it. And so that's going to bleed all the way down into the Gulf Coast, and it's here to stay. You see this huge trough setting up here across the eastern half of the country, and that means the coldest air of the season. In fact, very similar to what you would expect in the heart of winter in some cases.
A lot of these areas have not even hit freezing yet. I mean, when you're talking about getting into the southeast, so a hard freeze is expected for some of these areas this weekend. But I mean, when you're talking about single digits for places like Minneapolis, that's the actual temperature. It is going to be dangerously cold for some of these places.
So 134 million as we wake up on Thanksgiving morning will be below 32 degrees, below freezing. But notice how this encompasses so much of the southeast as we get towards Friday, and especially by Saturday, Felicia. I mean, we're talking 2/3 of the country, more than 2/3 of the country below freezing.
And you can see that's getting all the way down almost to the Gulf Coast. So it is going to not just like kind of come in and then leave really quickly either. This cold air is going to stick around for some time, because watch what the pattern does. We watch as this trough takes over much of the country and especially eastern portions of the country. While that's happening, though, for the weekend, you can see that ridge across the west, which means you guys are actually going to start to see some of those temperatures rebounding a little bit above average.
And quieting down for the west. So we'll get a welcome break after what's been a very active stretch there. 7 degrees is what it means for you in Bismarck. That's actually your warmer day on Thursday, because look at Friday. Look at these deeper purples, even pinks and whites coming in.
When you're getting the whites, that's like, you're getting the whites on the color map. You know it's getting very, very cold. Single digits in Sioux Falls and Minneapolis, but even say like Chicago, where you're going to be down in the teens and the 20s. This is Saturday morning in Chicago and Peoria. You're down in the teens, but then you have to factor in the wind as well. It is going to feel even colder than that, and the cold air doesn't stop across the northern tier, as we've mentioned. I mean, look at this. Saturday morning, we've got temperatures below freezing all the way down into the Florida Panhandle. And
we may even see some teens here out across the Cumberland Gap, eastern parts of Tennessee, western Virginia, low to mid 20s by Sunday morning, and especially Monday morning. It doesn't stop this weekend. It actually gets colder early next week, Felicia, heading into the first few days of December, which is very well indicated here by the Climate Prediction Center.
Yeah, that's through December 5th, but we're going to take it even longer. This is through December 9th, and you can see that pattern that I was just talking about with the trough in the east and the ridge in the west. It's sticking around, which means your temperatures are likely above average for the west and below average for eastern portions of the country, which is a bit of a flip-flop from what we've been seeing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've been racking up the snow.
So let's talk about that, because we got the cold air in place. Now we just need the moisture, and there's going to be snow. I mean, it's going to be cold enough. You can see where we've had a lot of snow so far. This is our season to date. We've had a couple of rounds of snowfall here in the upper Midwest, northern plains, and also last week we saw a good bit of snow in Chicago, Indianapolis, even down towards Kentucky and Pennsylvania. And obviously a lot of snow there in the Catskills. That's where we're going to expect more. Now, typically speaking, we do wait till December here, say along that I-70 to I-40 corridor in the big cities along the Northeast. Usually our first snow is not until December. But we have several rounds of opportunity for snow. The latest GFS is showing a kind of a swath of snow. Look at this.
Look at how far south that is getting.
St. Louis.
Sheesh, down into northern Kentucky. I mean, once again across the highlands of West Virginia. And then some bullseyes for that lake effect snow. Again, this is what the models are putting out. And then, of course,
and that's what's going on right now. That's the big event that we're tracking today and tomorrow. European showing something similar. And look at how well these are in agreement. I mean, it's almost identical. Big lake effect snow event here. And even some snow. Maybe we could shift this us even further south. That's a possibility. I'm not going to rule it out completely.
It's not out of the question, especially the higher elevations and the very cold air that we've got going on. Of course, everyone looking forward to Thanksgiving, but we've also got to take a look at your Black Friday forecast, because for a lot of us, as we just showed you, it is going to be getting really, really cold out there. Bloomington, Minnesota, at the Mall of America, you're going to want to be inside. Well,
and the mall's inside, so it's not like one of those Florida malls where it's outside. But getting from your car, if you don't get a parking garage space, it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold.
Also pretty cold here, but you know, when you're looking at 30s and 40s compared to, say, the teens, it doesn't seem as bad there. And, more manageable.
The King of Prussia Mall. And how about the American Dream Mall, which, by the way, those are the top 3 largest malls in the U.S. The Mall of America, the King of Prussia, and the American Dream. Looks like they were on some sort of a watching tour or something on a boat. Really cool. Welcome back into Weather Channel Live. I'm meteorologist Chris Bruin here alongside meteorologist Felicia Combs on your 2 days away now from Thanksgiving.
We're getting so close, and a lot of us are enjoying, maybe, it looks like a lot of people are out there skiing.
Because you asked for a better day. I mean, it is snowing heavily here. This is Aspen.
We are attracting a new crop of participants. Women, youth, and people genuinely concerned about the increase in extreme weather.
The Weather Channel's Katie Tutrone joined New York's Mountain Scout Survival School to learn some disaster survival skills herself.
Crazy weather video out there today. These are the best. The weather gone viral. Top 5 videos of the day. Here we go. Number 5.
All right, let's get a look at your regional forecast. This is one of the busiest travel weeks of the year. And we're going to swipe here because we want to take a look at the national picture first, and then we'll kind of dive in. This is the forecast for tomorrow, Felicia. And generally, a lot of dry weather here. Comfortable temperatures, 50s in the mid-Atlantic, Northeast, 60s in the Southeast, minus Florida.
Right.
And then the snow kind of catches your attention. That's where we will have the most impacts, I think, as far as weather goes on Wednesday.
Yeah, you want to watch out across the South, specifically across the lower Mississippi Valley, because we could have some severe storms Wednesday night into Thursday. So that's something to think about if you are planning some of that travel. Keep that in mind.
So for the Northeast, Wednesday doesn't look bad. We'll have a few flurries, some light snow showers, kind of novelty flakes if you're headed up into the mountains. Otherwise, 52 New York City. Great weather. If you got a last-minute flight out trying to get in, you know, before Wednesday night, looks good. 56 in D.C., 47 in Pittsburgh, but you can see the green. Because by Thursday,
this is your Thanksgiving. Don't you wish you could just switch Wednesday weather with Thursday weather? Right. Especially when you're talking about, you know, the big parade in NYC. Now, the winds are going to be about 10 to 15 miles per hour, so not too crazy, but it's going to be rainy, it's going to be windy, it's going to be cold.
And the rain could be heavy at times, too. And, of course, that 46 will feel so much colder when you're soaked. Right. And you have to stand. Once you get a spot for the parade, you can't really leave it.
Right. No, you're just kind of stuck there.
So that's a lot to endure. Brave souls, though, you know there'll be tons of people out, even with the weather elements. The snow will be confined towards interior sections of the Northeast, but it may be heavy. And we're talking about significant snowfall here in the mountains, but even places like Binghamton, we could get a lot. No snow. In the South.
Yeah, no snow in the South, thankfully. I mean, places like Houston actually well above average. The southern tier tomorrow is above average. Houston, this is more like early October temperature, so we're a little bit warmer than we should be, but look at that change.
20 degrees.
We dropped by 20 degrees for places like Houston, Jackson. Just that cold air is coming, diving in.
Find the front. I mean, you can see it. Once those storms clear us, we do dry out once that front pushes through, and it will be swinging through Florida as well, so enjoy those milder numbers, because if you're trying to hit the beach up, say this weekend, it's going to be very chilly.
Yeah, it's going to be a cold time. Tomorrow in Chicago, 44. We've got a little bit of rain for St. Louis and Cincinnati. Plan accordingly for that, for maybe your Wednesday flights coming in. And then look at this. We start to see some of those temperatures dropping a bit by Thanksgiving.
And highs getting a lot colder. 37 Chicago, only 20s in the Twin Cities and across Wisconsin and Michigan. There's the snow.
Yeah, the snow is going to be falling big time. It's starting kind of today, tonight, and into Wednesday. Now, Denver, you might not get any crazy totals out of this, but you go farther west, farther into the mountains, and I mean, especially south and west of Denver, you could get feet of snow before all is said and done.
But we clear out, and by Thanksgiving Day, I mean, it'll be cold in the Mile High City, but the sun will be out. And so even if there's snow accumulated on the roads, a lot of that's going to be melting here as we get into Thanksgiving itself. 26 26 in Minneapolis, teens for your highs in the Dakotas and low 20s, a little bit warmer as you work your way into Kansas and Nebraska.
Or your highs again, just to remind you, that's how cold it's going to be. Tomorrow, the wind picking up for places like Lubbock and Midland, again, a bit above average from the Four Corners region, at least portions of the Four Corners region
into
the
Texas.
Go? They dropped.
They're just like
they
cut in half. So it'll be getting a lot colder and even colder after Thanksgiving as well.
We are gliding right through our holiday week. It is, I keep thinking it's Wednesday, but it's Tuesday.
It does kind of feel like, I don't know, it feels like Thanksgiving to me, just based on the lack of people out, people at home or already at their destinations.
It feels like a very already holiday day that is today. And hopefully, if you're traveling, you've already gotten there.
I know. That's the ideal. I know there's some that haven't, and we're going to take a look at that travel forecast.
It's not something you want to deal with flying into or out of there. The wait times for security here look fantastic, under 10 minutes. ATL, I don't know what you guys have been doing at the airport there, but I have yet to see the ATL wait up over even 15 minutes. So shout out to the ATL airport there. JFK down under 10 as well. We're starting to see those numbers come up at Chicago, though, up over 30 minutes now, which that's starting to kind of tiptoe into that time frame of getting a little close to some of those flights if you got there late. Watching this weather move out of the Boston area, but it's the low cloud ceilings that we've been dealing with. Meanwhile, bunches of green bubbles, whether you're at one of the D.C. airports, BWI, any of the New York area airports, not looking so bad right now. What is looking kind of crazy, though, look at all of these flights in the air. This is the air traffic right now across the country, and you can see we've got a lot of those flights, and some of them are reporting turbulence. Where you're seeing the purple here across portions of California, Nevada, over through the Rockies. And then even as you look into the eastern portions of the country, but especially those purple plains, those are indicative of some strong turbulence. It is bouncy for those passengers on those flights, so that is no fun. Tomorrow, expecting more delays at Denver, especially as that snow's building in through the early part of the day. Kansas City, Memphis, you'll have some rain and storms moving through, so your Wednesday travel, air travel, could be impacted at those spots. And then look at this. On Thanksgiving, we've got a system impacting the pretty much the entire eastern portions of the country. So whether it's Boston, the New York area airports, all the way down to ATL, it looks like a better chance of some flight delays on Thanksgiving Day. So keep that in mind. If you're traveling by car, maybe you're leaving tomorrow. Hopefully you're leaving before 1 p.m. because 1 to 5 p.m. will be the worst travel time tomorrow. But I will tell you that in Denver and across portions of the Rockies where that snow is coming down, especially early on, plan for that because that could be causing some travel delays for that region. Chris.
All right, let's take
our traveling.
So confidence is high, and the National Weather Service offices here in Western New York have already highlighted winter storm watches, and this doesn't start until Friday.
Right.
It's only Tuesday.
You don't typically see them issue these watches or these alerts this early, but I would guess that their thinking is there are going to be a lot of people traveling, maybe that 81 corridor, that 90 corridor, so they want to let people know, hey, you might get where you're going to Watertown or Oswego for Thanksgiving, and then you might be stuck there through maybe after Monday.
Well, and people probably tune out as they get towards their destinations, and they don't want people to be caught off guard, especially after Thanksgiving. So there's the setup, but the confidence is also high because we've got the pattern that favors this. Warm water temperatures in the lakes, but Arctic air that's going to be filtering in starting on Thursday night and throughout Friday and the weekend.
Temperatures significantly below average for a place like Chicago. I mean, these are the forecast highs that we're looking at, the actual temperatures. Today or tomorrow, near average, and then you'll notice Thanksgiving a little bit below average, and then the temperatures just bottom out. I mean,
you
20
have to remind
degrees
yourself,
below average.
These are highs.
Right,
I mean, you look, you're like, hey, that's got to be the overnight lows. No, wait till you see the overnight lows.
In the meantime, as we mentioned, the water in the lakes is very warm. We've got record warm lake temperatures. So what you've got is just below average Arctic air blowing over these very warm, not iced over, obviously not iced over in November lakes. So that is going to be a lake effect snow machine.
And the warmer these water temperatures, the more moisture is able to be pulled up out of that as that cold air kind of moves over the lakes. Another thing to think about too is the wind direction. So as the cold air comes down, if you get the longer fetch over the water, that will enhance the snowfalls or snow squalls. If you get a shorter fetch, still heavy, but maybe not dealing at like 40, 60 inches that we can see at times with these setups.
And that is, one of the things that we're going to have to watch, that wind direction where it ends up kind of pointing that lake effect snow hose. Now, the greatest snowfall totals, again, it's going to depend on the wind direction, but you can see some bullseyes here. I mean, if you get that fetch all the way just kind of continuously pointing there south of Watertown, the Tug Hill Plateau is just going to get
dumped. That's a notorious spot for heavy snow. Also, the Southtown, south of Buffalo. Right now, Buffalo proper doesn't look like we'll get a lot of snow, but we may get a little bit out of this. There is a football game being played at Highmark Stadium. So far, it'll be cold, but not anticipating a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Live, a lot to cover here. We want to break down this cold weather pattern that's set to really take hold of the East Coast, Felicia, and it starts on Thanksgiving.
It starts on Thanksgiving. I was going to say, we're going to break it down as some of you might be having a breakdown because it's going to be so cold out there. And Chris, we talked about this. This is actually cold that's finally going to stick around for quite some time.
So it's cool, but it's about to get cold. And the cold air is kind of bottled up in the northern plains right now, but it's going to be bleeding down into the Ohio River Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, and way down into the deep south. Even Florida is looking at some of the coldest air that we've seen even the last couple of winters.
And it's going to be such a kind of a whiplash a little bit because a lot of the southern tier of the country has been above average today into tomorrow toward the end of the week. So when the colder air builds in, it's really going to be shocking. I mean, when you're talking about 20s, these are the forecast lows in Atlanta, in Memphis, 10s in Cincinnati. It is just bitter cold out there like we haven't seen yet in a lot of
I know Felicia's favorite, sub-zeros. Single digits and sub-zero temperatures for the first time this season, all the way up into North Dakota, parts of the upper Midwest, and even into the Great Lakes. So by Thursday morning, so for turkey trots, preparations for the big Thanksgiving dinner, 134 million of us are going to be waking up to temperatures below 32 degrees.
And then heading into Friday morning, I don't know if people still line up outside the stores. I'm guessing Black Friday
there's
shopping.
A few that still like the nostalgia of it, but it's like not the chaotic craziness that we dealt with when we were kids.
I would say your Black Friday shopping, maybe stick to the online shopping or get to those specific local stores Friday and Saturday, because I know it's Small Business Saturday. Then on Saturday, it's going to be cold if you're out there doing that shopping. You're going to want to bundle up big time.
I mean, that's like 2/3 of the country waking up below freezing. So here's a look at the pattern. And now you throw in, we've got the cold air in place, and we will, and it will stay in place. But then you just throw in some precip, and we're talking snow. And it will come in the form of lake effect, which you see here highlighted. But notice this is kind of our overall pattern. Friday, early morning, notice this big trough taking hold of the East Coast, and it just stays in place through the weekend and for a good chunk of next week.
And deepens and intensifies. That cold air is hanging around, so wherever you get the moisture to combine with the cold air, obviously you're getting some of that winter weather. But even beyond that, it is going to feel so much colder for a lot of us once we factor in that wind with these actual lows. I mean, starting to get into the dangerously cold level for especially the northern tier.
And the thing that's so mind-boggling to me, it's still November. This is Thanksgiving morning. 7 will be your low in Bismarck, 13 in Fargo. I mean, if I told you this was January last year, you probably would have believed me. But this is not even officially meteorological winter yet, which will start this weekend on Sunday as December 1st rolls in, and it'll be even colder by then.
That's how your Thanksgiving is starting out. This is how your Friday morning is going to start out. So again, for the Black Friday shoppers, look at this. It got even colder. I mean, now we're down to Friday morning waking up in the single digits in Sioux Falls, Minneapolis 10 degrees, Madison 17. These are cold weather areas, but this is, with the wind cranking is even worse.
Yeah, that's not even the wind chills. I mean, these are your air temperatures, which will be below zero across much of North Dakota, the Red River Valley, -4 in Fargo. We're talking single digits here in the Twin Cities. There could be some pockets getting close to 0, 6 in Sioux Falls, even Des Moines, 15, 20 in Lincoln, and 14 degrees in both Chicago and Peoria.
It is just going to be such a cold time out there. And this is what we're looking at for Friday morning, the below freezing temps. But then also the afternoon is going to stay very, very cold as well. So while we're waking up with cold temperatures Friday morning across the southeast, Saturday morning, it's even colder. It looks like a lot of us could get that first hard freeze.
So
that's something to consider.
Pipes, you got to make sure the hoses are covered. I actually need to do that because we're still watering our plants. I mean, that survived the milder fall. They're about to go away. so I don't need the hose anymore, really. But 22 in Nashville. These will be air temperatures to remind yourselves of, and wind chills will be even colder than that. But the freezing line getting all the way down, even into the Suwannee River Valley, North Florida, likely dealing with some frosty conditions, including Tallahassee, Gainesville, and even Jacksonville.
I mean, you can see in the higher elevations, places like Asheville down in the 20s. So certainly something to think about there for everyone still doing the recoveries, you know, some way to stay warm with those temperatures getting so very cold for a prolonged period.
So speaking of prolonged, this is the outlook for the first 5 days of December. And we can even go beyond that, Felicia, heading into December 9th. So the first full week and a half of December, the whole entire East Coast likely very cold and below average. And as far as snowfall goes, this is what we've seen so far. So the cold and the snowy active pattern has been across the west. We've done well. And the northern plains have seen a good bit of snow. And last week we saw our first snows here for the Ohio River Valley. We're going to be adding to that.
Yes, we are,
across the Great Lakes, especially with lake effect snow.
I mean, we needed the precipitation in any way we could get it before the drought across this region. But you'll notice that pattern flip as we head through December, and the cold air is really taking over the eastern portions of the country. Weather video out there today. These are the best. The weather gone viral. Top 5 videos of the day. Here we go. Number 5.
All right, let's get a look at your regional forecast. This is one of the busiest travel weeks of the year. And we're going to swipe here because we want to take a look at the national picture first, and then we'll kind of dive in. This is the forecast for tomorrow, Felicia. And generally, a lot of dry weather here. Comfortable temperatures, 50s in the mid-Atlantic, northeast, 60s in the southeast, minus Florida.
Right.
And then the snow kind of catches your attention. That's where we'll have the most impacts, I think, as far as weather goes on Wednesday.
Yeah, you want to watch out across the south, specifically across the lower Mississippi Valley, because we could have some severe storms Wednesday night into Thursday. So that's something to think about if you are planning some of that travel. Keep that in mind.
So for the northeast, Wednesday doesn't look bad. We'll have a few flurries, some light snow showers, kind of novelty flakes if you're headed up into the mountains. Otherwise, 52 in New York City. Great weather. If you got a last-minute flight out trying to get in, you know, before Wednesday night, looks good. 56 in D.C., 47 in Pittsburgh, but you can see the green. Because by Thursday,
this is your Thanksgiving. Don't you wish you could just switch Wednesday weather with Thursday weather? Right. Especially when you're talking about, you know, the big parade in NYC. Now, the winds are going to be about 10 to 15 miles per hour, so not too crazy, but it's going to be rainy, it's going to be windy, it's going to be cold.
And the rain could be heavy at times, too. And, of course, that 46 will feel so much colder when you're soaked. Right. And you have to stand. Once you get a spot for the parade, you can't really leave it.
Right. No,
you
you're just kind of stuck there.
So that's a lot to endure. Brave souls, though, you know there'll be tons of people out, even with the weather elements. The snow will be confined towards interior sections of the Northeast, but it may be heavy. And we're talking about significant snowfall here in the mountains, but even places like Binghamton, we could get a lot. No snow. In the south.
Yeah, no snow in the south, thankfully. I mean, places like Houston actually well above average. The southern tier tomorrow is above average. Houston, this is more like early October temperature, so we're a little bit warmer than we should be, but look at that change.
20 degrees.
We dropped by 20 degrees for places like Houston, Jackson. Just that cold air is coming, diving in.
Find the front. I mean, you can see it. Once those storms clear us, we do dry out once that front pushes through, and it will be swinging through Florida as well, so enjoy those milder numbers. Because if you're trying to hit the beach up, say this weekend, it's going to be very chilly.
Yeah, it's going to be a cold time. Tomorrow in Chicago, 44. We've got a little bit of rain for St. Louis and Cincinnati. Plan accordingly for that for maybe your Wednesday flights coming in. And then look at this. We start to see some of those temperatures dropping a bit by Thanksgiving.
And highs getting a lot colder. 37 Chicago, only 20s in the Twin Cities and across Wisconsin and Michigan. There's the snow. Yeah,
the snow is going to be falling big time. It's starting kind of today, tonight, and into Wednesday. Now, Denver, you might not get any crazy totals out of this, but you go farther west, farther into the mountains, and I mean, especially south and west of Denver, you could get feet of snow before all is said and done.
But we clear out, and by Thanksgiving Day, I mean, it'll be cold in the Mile High City, but the sun will be out. And so even if there's snow accumulated on the roads, a lot of that's going to be melting here as we get into Thanksgiving itself. 26 in Minneapolis, teens for your highs in the Dakotas, and low 20s, a little bit warmer as you work your way into Kansas and Nebraska.
Or your highs, again, just to remind you, that's how cold it's going to be. Tomorrow, the wind picking up for places like Lubbock and Midland, again, a bit above average from the Four Corners region, at least portions of the Four Corners region into Texas.
Where did the temperatures go?
They dropped.
They just like cut in half. So it'll be getting a lot colder and even colder after Thanksgiving as well.
All right, we are basically kind of over the hump of Tuesday. So Wednesday Thursday, I call that little Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Eve, and then we are to Thanksgiving and all of the food and all the family time.
You gotta start saving room in your tummy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's your warning. Start saving some room. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Weather Channel Live. Meteorologist Chris Bruin, meteorologist Felicia Combs, and man, do we have a lot to talk about weather-wise because so many people are traveling this week, and that could cause some impact. Yeah,